there had been later signs attached to the marble work. So there are a lot of holes. There were hundreds of holes in the exterior of the building and some cracked pieces of travertine. The artworks were in good condition, but they were dirty and they needed a little maintenance and repair. But basically, it was a good building. Tavo Olmos is here. He was the photographer who helped with the taking photographs. So it was opened in 1974. A local architect, Frank Homolka, did the actual permit drawings, but we did find in the Smithsonian collection, the Archives of American Art, in the Millard Sheets archives there, we did find the original rendering of this building. And so we found a description of it, and in that description, lo and behold, a big surprise to us was that there was a tapestry originally designed for this building and was hanging in this building. Millard Sheets' daughter, Carolyn here, is the one who saved the tapestry and donated to the Menge Museum in San Diego. And so we contacted Tony Sheets and said, hey, you know, we found reference to this tapestry in the archives, and we're looking for it. Do you have any idea where it is? And he said, oh, well, you should talk to my sister. And so we talked to her, and she told us where it was, and we went to look at it, and we begged the museum to help us to do a reproduction of the tapestry, because we wanted to do a really high resolution scale reproduction of the tapestry and the museum gave us permission to do a print out onto canvas so that we could hang a reproduction of the tapestry in the building. So the PIH Health was behind that, and they funded it, and we went down to San Diego and unrolled this incredible tapestry. It took a long time to photograph. It's probably as long as the width of this 20 feet. Yeah, and the colors in the tapestry are so beautiful and so intense and fresh. And it's called Foliage and Butterflies. And it's these large butterflies. It's kind of like if you were looking at a garden with a microscope, with a magnifying glass, and you would see these giant butterflies and these giant pieces of foliage. And it's kind of a microscopic view of a garden with the foliage and butterflies. So that's basically what we did. So here's the building. I don't know if we can go forward now.
I have to press really hard on the bottom button.
Bottom button. Aha. Okay, so here are the artworks. So here's the tapestry I was talking about. So you can see there's a tree here, and there's different butterflies and different foliage. This is a mosaic. It's a carousel. This is signed by Sue Hertel. And there was a carousel theme in her body of work. This was one of, I think, 3 carousel designs that we found. And we found the original cartoon for this in the Wallace files. And then here's the mosaic, A Day in the Country. And you can see the families having a picnic, and there's behind here, there's some horses going, and there are zones of color. That's one of the aspects of his mosaic design, where he had these different zones of color. And apparently, according to some of the artists that we met who worked on these mosaics, he would have the zones of color, and then the actual grout would be painted to go along with those zones of color, so that you would have a really finished looking mosaic. Let's see. So here's the building before restoration. One of the problems was that there was a lot of water from the gardening, the watering of the garden, that had been pouring onto the side of the building for years, and the minerals had collected on the travertine and discolored it. So that was one big problem. There were also just wear and tear, cracks, losses of marble, cracks, places where they had attached signs and lights and things. So here they're taking the cracked one off and they're going to repair it. So through a process of steam cleaning, using poultice to remove, there was graffiti. At one time, somebody had graffitied this building, the exterior. And we had to take the graffiti off this building. It was so sad. I can't tell you. I'm amazed that the stained glass window was intact. Anyway, so we removed the graffiti, we cleaned it, and then we did through areas where we couldn't get through the gentlest means possible. This is all done in accordance with the Secretary of Interior standards, by the way. So using the gentlest means possible, we removed these Mars, and then we, through a process of honing, gently honed down to where we couldn't get the minerals off. So along here, the foundation we honed. Like here's a place where there's this ghosting too. So we had to deal with discolored marble. And then here's afterwards. And then here's the process of cleaning and repairing and restoring the mosaic. So there were areas, we did a survey of the mosaic mural and identified areas where grout had been lost through weathering. There weren't really any signs of damage. It was just time that had passed and it needed maintenance and repair from that. So we basically cleaned it and then regrouted it and sealed it, and so now it's protected. It should last a long time, and it's in excellent condition. But here it is afterwards. So the colors are bright again, and it's in excellent condition. Then the stained glass. Again, it was in fairly good condition. There were actually some really bad repairs. There was this area up here where it cracked, but there were areas where people had attempted to repair it and improperly camed. The caming is this piece, these lead pieces, and it looked, you could tell where the repairs were, and they just looked really awkward and crude. And so we brought in a stained glass artist, Adam Grietfeld, and his studio. And they came and they did a beautiful, first they surveyed it to see what the condition was. And then they went through and they repaired the caming. And they also, again, the standards say, repair where possible, replace if necessary, if you can't repair. So there were some areas where there were holes in the glass or cracks in the glass, and instead of replacing that glass, we repaired it. So we did as much repair as we could, and then where we had to replace. This is actually the wrong color glass. This is one of those bad repairs. So this is the restored window, and here there was a kind of an aqua color that was a pattern, and it was intermittent across this archway, and the point of that was to make your eyes sweep across the top of the window to carry you across. And I just can't tell you what a wonderful work this is. It's kind of a blend between traditional stained glass art and contemporary or modern aesthetic, where the colors are both the traditional jewel tones as well as the contemporary more like, I don't know, acid, modern, really brilliant colors. Then Sue Hertel used this really free brush stroke where she brushed the designs onto the stained glass, and then that was fired, and it's fired onto the window. So like the tails and the sort of the not chiaroscuro, but when you like do cross hatching, if you're doing graphic design, to kind of bring out the sort of three-dimensional quality and muscling of the animals and the facial features and everything. So it's very free, but at the same time, there's also areas where it's almost like a medieval stained glass window where there's so much detail in like the saddles and the brocade and the fabric. So it's really a blend between the traditional and the contemporary stained glass art. And it's a really magnificent piece. It's also very happy and jubilant. Here is the tapestry. When we unfurled it, it is being kept beautifully. It's in excellent condition. I didn't see any sign of decay or any problems. I was very happy. It's very fresh. When you pull it out, it looks new. So it's being cared for very well. And then this is the cartoon that was used by Millard Sheets did, that was taken over to France, to Pinton Frere, where they took the design and made the tapestry. This is one of the very famous houses where they make tapestries, very famous from, I think they started in the 18th century. So it was one of the best places you could have a tapestry made, and they did a beautiful job. So it's really a treasure. And we were so glad to discover it, and I was so impressed to see it. So here, so it's a third scale model. It's not like it's a huge printout, but this is the best we could do. But it's still large enough so you can get a sense of the colors with the stained glass. And this is the space of the rehabilitated interior. So again, this area was already altered. We tried to keep the mezzanine as far back from the stained glass windows we could and still accommodate the health center use. We also did an interpretive exhibit that went along with the restoration project that took the research that we had done and made it into an educational interpretive exhibit. So here in this area, this is about the artists so Millard Sheets kind of had the rendering of the building, and then the different artists that worked on this project, and little bios for them. So this one and this one were over by the elevator, and then over here is this panel, which has to do with the tapestry and the original cartoon for the carousel. And then here's another example of Sue Hertel's carousel artworks, just for comparison. And then upstairs, we had a lot of space where we could talk about the home savings and Amundsen and Millard Sheets, which you heard about in the last presentation. And then there was a panel that we talked about the actual conservation and restoration process. And then here is a night view of the building completed. I also have printouts of the panels. I have 5 of them, so you can actually read what they say if you're interested. So I'll just take a look. I don't know how to do this for everybody. There's one more. So, I took this project and I submitted it to the California Preservation Foundation for an award. And I have the award, the application materials here, and I'll just kind of go through what I thought. I think it's important to say that I haven't said or Adam hasn't said earlier. Basically, restored to its former glory by a nonprofit healthcare organization, this project features a rehabilitated bank exterior, conserved mosaic and stained glass art, and a recreated signature tapestry. The permanent interpretive exhibit chronicles the design and legacy of this community treasure. So the way I kind of interpret this or looked at this project was that it's a restoration and a conservation, yes. It's a project of stewardship, yes, but also in the way to approach it, by including the interpretive component, it allows the viewer to look at the parts of the building that are saved and the artworks that are saved, and to think about them in the context of history and the context of Millard Sheets' life and the context of art history, and kind of makes the building itself into a larger exhibit, like a three-dimensional huge exhibit, and then these various smaller interpretive pieces add to that. So it's not really the exhibit that I did that's so important. It's just that I wanted my work to support the significance of the building. This building had not been evaluated. There was no requirement by the city to preserve it. I was just really amazed that the PIH Health would put so much money and care into preserving this building. So let's see, do you have any questions?
Well, they promised this time it won't feedback. Hello?
Oh, UCLA. Let's see. Adam was talking about location. This building is located at the southwest corner of a major intersection on Montebello's main boulevard. So that goes along with the theme that Adam had been talking about. Oh, this area had flower farms. So that's where the flowers come in. And that's an important aspect of this area's heritage. Yes?
That reminds me of the question I was going to ask is if you had any information on how the themes for the various mosaics or the tapestries or stained glass were chosen by Sheets or the team or Amundsen, or how did they come up with these? I mean, I know that some of them seem to reflect the Spanish past of Southern California on the bank mosaics, but was there something else? Because sometimes it seems like, you know, okay, flower fields, that's reflective of the place, given what you mentioned, how you describe the tapestry, but a carousel and some of these other things. Like,
Yeah.
Are there connections?
Well, we asked that question.
Can you very quickly repeat the question?
Oh, so is there a do the themes in the artworks connect to any particular, was there any reason for those themes in the artworks? And that's something that we researched, and it was hard to find the answers. So with the flowers, I looked and looked and looked, and the history of Montebello, were there any, you know, what was going on with flowers there? Finally, I gave up, and I was at a conference and or a planning, it was a public meeting for a project that I was working on, and there was a planner there. She said she was from Montebello, and I said, really? Oh, can you tell me about flowers? Why are flowers associated with Montebello? She says, oh, my family for generations has had a flower shop in Montebello. I said, really? Oh my gosh. You know, can you tell me about that? She said, oh yeah, there's a long tradition of flower farming in in Montebello and in the area, and that flowers are really important to the economy of the area, and that, you know, they're part of her identity personally because her family was involved in flower shops. So it was a local agricultural crop, I guess you might call it. Also, I think someone told me, I don't know if it's Carolyn who told me or someone else told me, that Millard Cheats like to collect butterflies. Yes. So he was apparently attracted by their beauty and fascinated by them.
It's the only thing he ever did with butterflies, but
Really?
they own. So it must have made something actually Montebello.
Well, maybe he saw lots of butterflies there because of the flowers, and it inspired him.
So I have a two-part question from the city of San Francisco over here, so let me read this off. It may have already been answered. I've been frantically running around, so
Okay.
sorry if you already answered this, but what is the status of the building? Is it designated locally or nationally?
No, it has not been designated. It has not been evaluated. It's not protected or in any way. It is a locally beloved building. Many people that I've spoken with from Montebello, or who walked by while we're working on the project, or when I go other places and talk about this project, they come up to me and they say, "Oh, I remember that building, you know, when I was a kid," and they'll tell me stories about it, or, "Oh, I drive by that building every day. I'm so glad you're saying that, you know." So there is definitely community interest in this building, and they love this building. They're glad to see that it's protected, and I think that's probably one reason why the stained glass windows didn't get shot out. You know, they could have very easily gotten destroyed. There's nothing protecting them. They're just there, and I think that the community, they keep an eye on it. When I was there working on the building, people would come around like, "Is that your car? You know, who are you?" They definitely care about the building.
Okay, and the second question is, was there a financial incentive to rehab the building? None.
That it was totally a commitment of stewardship by PAH Health. When you think about, you know, there's an oncology office in this building. People from the community, children, babies, families come into this building for treatment and diagnosis. And it's a emotionally difficult thing that they're doing coming in. So the artwork in this building is serving a new purpose, a new life, and it's giving hope and joy to people who need it very badly. And that's really a wonderful thing. And I think that PIH Health saw that value in the artworks and in the building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.